Hi, this is Connie Whitlock, and I'm with Mary Tanck, right?
Yep, that's right.
And you are watching View from the Hill. So it's so good to see you. I was supposed to interview you a couple weeks ago, but the good old COVID came in.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Oh, I am feeling so much better.
Good.
You said you had it too.
Yeah, I'm pretty
right?
sure I had it.
I think everybody in the world had it in the last month. It's like there was even some stores down here that shut down.
Well, now we're all immune to it.
Well,
so that's good.
Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, if it only worked that way, right? It's like, oh, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Maybe you won't get it again.
Oh, I hope not. It was awful. But you are amazing.
Well, thank you.
You are so amazing. I have a whole list here. I am so ready to ask you so many questions. The top one that I do want to mention right off the bat is that you are running for the BOE.
I am running for the Board of Education here in Pleasant Hill.
So I'm going to talk about that first, and then we'll go into some of your other lists, which you will want to stay tuned for that because it is amazing. But the BOE, so why? Why run for the BOE?
Do you want the long version or the short version?
We've got time. Yep.
It originally started during COVID, and I kind of lost my temper about a lot of the chaos we were inflicting on our kids and our teachers. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to run for the board. I'm going to kind of make some order from this chaos. It's out of control. We're hurting children. We're hurting teachers. It's not a good thing.
How are they hurting?
Well, anytime you throw kids in that kind of chaos, we're going to cut the school year short, and then we're going to go to half days, and you're only going to get to see 10 people, and you're never going to see anybody's face. Anytime you throw kids into that, it hurts them. And there's been all kinds of studies about mental illness. Incidents have increased, and it's almost impossible to get in to see a therapist or something, especially for kids, because there's so many of them who are needing help right now. So that's where it started. And I got to thinking, I'm like, well, you can't run for school board on something temporary like this, but surely they could use some help. So I get to talking to parents and teachers and community members, and there's things going on in this world that I think I can help bring a little bit of stability. I can help make it better, at least for Pleasant Hill, at least for our corner of the world. And I think I think I can bring some unique perspectives to the school board. And I'd like to make it a happy place for teachers to work. I'd like it to make it a happy place for kids to go learn. This morning on the news, they were saying that 900,000 teachers quit between 2020 and 2021. Now, I'm sure some of those were retirements, but a lot of them are teachers. They're just disillusioned with the profession. And what does that do? That hurts kids for sure. So again, I think in Pleasant Hill, we can make it better. We can make it so that teachers really like to come to work and they really enjoy it and they get energized by being here and teaching here and working for the district. And then that in turn will help our kids become energized and want to be at school and want to learn and do well in life.
Right.
And so that's why I'm running now. It's evolved a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
That's great. And I like how you mentioned that it's more than about what the COVID problems were, because it is so much more to be a Board of Education member, right? So what would you say like the top priorities would be?
Well, I told you my top priorities was to make a nice place for kids to go learn and for teachers to teach.
But how would you do that?
But I've been listening to parents, and I've discovered that we have some shortcomings. We have a really good district, and we've got a lot of really good teachers. There are some shortcomings. There's some shortcomings with the facilities that we need some, it's time to update some of the classrooms and some of the buildings. And there's some shortcomings, particularly in our special needs department. That's not something I have a lot of background with, but I've been talking to a lot of parents and reading a lot and trying to learn about it so that, if I do get elected, which I hope I do, I can bring something to the table there.
And what expertise do you have? Background do you have? Do you feel like will help the BOE?
You already know.
Well, I do know, but you tell me.
I'm a licensed professional civil engineer. So I understand, how construction contracts work, how we can update buildings, how things can be fixed.
So
that's what I'm bringing.
$6 million isn't a number that just overwhelms you then. I mean, because if they're going to spend that kind of money.
Well, it depends on what you're spending $6 million on.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what I'm saying?
But no, $6 million isn't going to freak me out because I build high-rise buildings.
Yeah, well, so that's what I mean. So you understand, like, you could understand if that is necessary or not necessary.
Correct.
That's kind of where I'm going with
right.
it. It's like, okay, yeah, well, that's what that costs, I know that there have been BOE meetings in the last couple months where they have brought up some high ticket items. And for the general person just looking at that, we're like, I don't know. You don't know what to think about that. Well,
that's where my construction expertise comes in. You put out an invitation to bid and you start getting some bids and some proposals. And then you can get a better feel for what things should cost. Yeah.
There you go. Or what we need in the schools. And I know that they talked in December about, updating the HVAC and just lots of things in the different buildings. And it's like, I could see us needing that. The buildings cost so much.
They do. They cost a lot.
And that really bothers me in some way, because I always feel like 200 years ago, it's like, well, how did they educate 200 years ago? Now we need all this fancy stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm not a teacher in that regard. I'm just a piano, but I don't know. I don't know the answers to all of
200 years ago, did we have the career choices that we have now?
Exactly. Yeah.
200 years ago, we didn't have an electrical engineer back there writing code. Mm-hmm. 200 years ago, we didn't have, these TVs and the podcasts and the sound engineering and all of that stuff. So we're preparing children else for a different world than 200 years ago.
What do you think about the Chromebooks? Everybody having a Chromebook.
I go back and forth. I think they're an okay tool. I really would prefer to see kids have books. Now, part of that is because I love books. I don't think that's a big secret.
No,
I love books.
Anybody on your Facebook? You have a library, right? You have to have a library.
Yeah, I do have a library. I think there's something to be said, though, for a textbook and being able to go back and forth and read how to do a problem, especially, say, math. Mm-hmm. Science, less so, because science kind of evolves and we learn new things. When I was at school, how many dinosaurs do we know about? Like 5. Now my son's coming home talking about dinosaurs. I'm like, I've never even heard of that. So science evolves, and I'm kind of okay with that. But things like math that don't change. There's something to be said for being able to open up a book and look through it and see example problems and the explanations and all of that. I think Chromebooks probably have their place. And
phones. What about phones?
Phones
in the classroom.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
No, I don't think
and that's
it's
not
a distraction.
Just being old school. To me, I teach piano, right? And I had a kid that had that watch.
Oh, and the
bing,
watch kept going.
Bing. Or every once in a while like this. I'm like, could you leave that in the car so we can have your full attention while you're here?
I think it kind of creates a little bit shorter attention span too.
Mm-hmm. I can't wear one anymore because it buzzes you and it's totally distracting.
I've never had one. Yeah. That's pretty fancy for me.
Yeah, I wanted one so it reminded me, of appointments and things like that. But it tells you to breathe.
Yeah, no.
It's time to stand up. And I'm just like, but it made you do this all the time. And then I was with my cousin and he had one and he was constantly doing this. I said, do you have to leave? It
makes you nervous, doesn't it?
It does. I'm just like, okay, so, and I don't know if it's just colliding with our current culture of, when someone does that means something and maybe that is changing. I don't know. But with us, with the print paper, I didn't really grow up with a paper. A little bit. We got the Sunday paper and stuff like that. But I do remember thumbing through
looking for the comics.
Lifestyles and comics.
Lifestyles.
Yeah, lifestyles. All the stores, what are they doing? But I didn't live in a small town either. But I found that I'm here, it's like I wish I would have known, because there is a totally different experience thumbing through paper than on a computer or on a phone. And I enjoy all of them, but they're different.
Well, and there's something to be said for paper media too. I have a Kindle, which I rarely use because, again, I love books. But the first book I read on a Kindle was The Scarlet Letter.
Oh,
I was rereading it.
I just started that one.
And I was sitting there looking at on the Kindle, and it wasn't right. It just wasn't right. I had to go get the book. So it's just like you're saying with the paper. It's a little bit different experience.
It's a different experience, yeah.
And having the watch and the phones, and when you have an alarm go off, our minds are programmed to certain things. And when an alarm goes off, that tells us, hey, this needs my attention.
Right.
Well, your phone alarm is going to go off. And I say alarm, but let's say a text message notification is going to go off, whether that text message is saying, hey, there's a fire in the kitchen, or can you pick up milk on the way home?
Dumps it down.
Something that could wait. So, yeah, your attention span is shorter. I don't think that kids, I think it's disrespectful. And I don't think they should have them in the classroom, particularly if the teacher's trying to talk. But kids they haven't developed the capacity yet to prioritize things. Something that's really, really important. Think of all the things that were really important when you were in junior high. Really, in the scheme of things, are they that important? Are they more important than your math class or your reading or anything like that? I mean, I know it was the end of the earth if some boy wasn't going to talk to you or whatever, who's going to the skating rink. And that's how a young mind prioritizes things is that. And I think it's detrimental for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the president of Bordner Engineering Services. Bordner Engineering Services, and you are a part owner as well.
I am part owner. I have two partners.
What do you do?
Well,
what do you do?
I love what I do so much. I really do.
Here we go.
Okay, so when you want to build a concrete building, a concrete high-rise, you'll hire an engineer and an architect, and they design the building to be stable in its final state. But it has to be totally complete before it's stable and usable. So while it's under construction, it behaves differently. It thinks it's a completely different structure. You've got different loads on it. They're going different places. The load paths are different. So what I do is I work directly for contractors, and I tell them, A, how to build the building, and B, how to keep it standing while it's under construction.
Okay. So are you kind of consulting?
Yeah, I'm a consulting. If I'm looking to hire somebody, I call it structural/construction engineer.
Okay.
It's kind of a niche market.
Okay.
And we do a lot of...
How did you find this market? How did you say, oh, I want to do this?
Well, it was a family business.
Okay.
And I always knew I wanted to build stuff. My family has been in construction.
Did you do the Tinker Toy thing? What?
Oh, yeah. But my family's been in construction. I mean, my great-grandfather was in construction.
Really?
So it kind of grew up in the family, the uncles and the cousins and the dads and the grandpas and great-grandpas and great-uncles. Everybody was in the business. So I always knew I'd build stuff. And after I actually went to engineering school with the idea that I would be a construction manager. But when I got out, things took a different turn.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing this, and I love it. I'm so glad I did.
Oh, that's amazing. And then you've also did you start Baby Grace, or are you just a part of it?
So Baby Grace was kind of a grassroots movement. A woman up in Buckner, actually, two women in Buckner started it at Buckner United Methodist. And their friends at other Methodist churches heard about it, and then others.
Yeah.
And now there's, I think, 20 chapters. So I started the Pleasant Hill chapter.
Gotcha.
But I did not start the whole movement.
And this is diapers, right?
Yeah. We provide diapers and wipes and diaper cream for needy children. What happened was, so we had this grassroots movement, and I'd kind of heard about it, but I didn't pay much attention. And the pastor at the time, Dave Owsley, comes up to me and he says, "Hey, Mary, you have a heart for local missions, don't you?" And I said, "I love local missions." And I said, "I really like to do the smaller things that are falling through the cracks and helping individuals." And he said, "Did you know that 1 in 3 kids doesn't have enough diapers?" And I'm like, "What?" 1 in 3. That's 33%
Wow.
of the kids are going around not getting their diaper changed enough.
And is this a problem in Pleasant Hill?
It's a problem in Pleasant Hill. It's a problem everywhere. And so he said that to me, and I was like, surely he's exaggerating. And so I start doing my research, and it's 1 in 3 kids, and it's everywhere. And part of the issue is, regardless of how you feel about SNAP benefits and EBT and WIC and all of that, taking that out of the equation, you can't use your benefits to buy diapers.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so what happens is now parents are scrounging around. Well,
and diapers are not cheap.
Diapers are not cheap.
I remember that.
And they're more expensive if you're poor. Lower income families pay more for everything.
How's that?
Well, you think about it. If you live in a small town that doesn't have a big box store, and you don't have reliable transportation, or you don't have the $55 for a Costco membership, where you can pay an average of 15 to 20 cents a diaper, you have to walk to the nearest store
Price Chopper,
or take your car short distances, right? Well, these other smaller stores like that in the smaller towns, you're going to end up paying 33 to 35 cents a diaper, sometimes as much as 50 cents a diaper.
Wow.
So these things escalate. And then you have kids who need to be in daycare while mom works, maybe mom and dad work. Well, the daycares won't take a child in diapers unless they have a certain number of diapers to get through the day. So now you can't buy the diapers and you can't take your kid to daycare. And now you can't go to work. And you've got this cycle, right? And reading about it, it harms the child, obviously, physically and mentally, but it's also bad for the moms mentally too, to think that they can't take care of their child like they should. And so it increases problems with mental illness.
So how do they get the diapers?
At Baby Grace?
How do they get a hold of you?
Well, they come to the Pleasant Hill United Methodist Church the second Saturday of every month from 9 to 11. We don't have any income requirements. We don't have any residency requirements. You don't have to show us your paperwork. If your child needs diapers, we will give your child diapers.
And so how do you donate?
Same way.
Okay.
Funnily enough, you can donate up to the Methodist Church. You
actually donate the diapers.
You can donate the diapers. You can write a check to the Methodist Church and put Baby Grace in the memo line, and I can purchase the diapers. I have a lot of people who ship diapers directly to me.
I have a lot of people coming for diapers?
We do. Before the pandemic, we were actually having about 100 kids a month, 100 to 125 kids a month. Now we're averaging about 45 to 55 kids every month coming for diapers. I don't know. A lot of organizations closed during COVID. So there for a while, because I told you we had 20 Baby Grace chapters, most of them shut down during COVID, and we did not. So I think part of it was maybe people didn't know we were still open, but we were. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that everybody's getting enough diapers, so there's not as many kids. We're seeing more now recently too.
Okay, so here's another one. You serve on a committee for the American Concrete Institute.
The American Concrete Institute, ACI. It's the
only one.
The only one, ACI.
So what is that all about?
So ACI actually puts out all the codes for concrete construction and design. And then they put out guides.
National codes?
Yeah, international.
International codes. Okay.
And they put out guides.
Okay.
So anything that you want to do.
How often do you meet?
A couple times a year, and then we meet online once a month for my committee. So anything that you ever want to do with construction. So if you want to know how to pour concrete if it's cold outside, they have a guide for cold weather concreting.
Okay.
If you want to know how to pour concrete if it's hot outside, there's a guide for hot weather concreting.
And you guys create it?
I actually am on it's called the 347 committee. So it's the formwork committee, which does what I do. It's called formwork shoring and reshoring. So if you want to know how much pressure concrete is exerting on a wall form, I'm your girl. If you want to know how to calculate post-tensioning transfers on a reshoring, I'm your girl. That's what we do on that particular committee.
That's okay. So do you ever change
committees?
No, change things. Guides and
We're actually putting out a formwork code now that hasn't ever been codified before. It's always been kind of a guide.
And now
A lot of voodoo and guessing.
Okay, so is this like law?
If it's a code, then you have to follow the code.
No, you can't do that internationally, can you? I mean,
no. So different. So we have the American Concrete Institute, and at the committees and stuff, people come from international, but then they have like ACI international chapters, and I'm not sure how they work in other countries.
But okay, so since you're here though, okay, does the United States look to you for these codes? And so there it is law.
Well,
here.
they don't look to me for all
the committee.
So if you want,
institute.
That's the institute. So ACI 318 is the concrete code. So if you ever have design a building and you're looking at the general notes, they're going to say we used the ACI 318
have you
concrete
ever poured
code.
Concrete?
Have I ever poured concrete?
Yeah. Has the engineer ever actually done it?
Yes, and that is a skilled trade, and it's not a skill that I possess naturally. It wasn't pretty. I leave that to the tradesmen for the most part, because they do a lot better job than I do.
Tradesmen. And then you are part of the church board. I don't know how you find the time for all this, but
the church board. Well, Jesus told me I had to serve on the church board.
Go Jesus.
We're in discussion. We're in negotiations over that.
But you serve on so many things. Obviously you have some leadership qualities. You're involved in civic also. So you're married?
I am married. Mr. Tanck and I have been married, it'll be 20 years in June.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
And kids?
Yeah, we've got 2 kids.
And how old?
Shelby is 14. She's in 8th grade. And Kevin is 9. He's in 3rd grade.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So you have a boy and girl.
We have a boy and a girl. We got together in high school. I mean, you cannot get any more American than this.
So hobbies.
Well, obviously.
And don't say pouring concrete.
No.
Because it's probably not.
I really enjoy reading. And I've had some crafting hobbies that kind of evolve over the years. You know, for a while I did scrapbooking and then card making. Yeah. Now I'm into journaling. I've always kept a journal, but now I'm much more into it. Yeah. I like to hike.
I'm afraid to journal, though, because I'm afraid if I die, someone's going to find it. And then.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth because I have this stack of journals. Now, my book journals, I've been keeping a book journal since I was in college. So for over 20 years, probably almost 25 years, I've written down every book that I've read.
Oh, wow. Really?
And like what the book was about, the day I finished it, how many pages it was. Oh. So I've got a stack of book journals that anybody is allowed to read.
What's your favorite books?
Oh, my gosh. True Grit, for sure, by Charles Portis. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. And Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn.
Gotta love him.
I mean, they're kind of neck and neck.
Love that, yeah.
And then, there's been other Lonesome Dove. I love Lonesome Dove. I read a lot. It's hard to pick one favorite.
My favorites are biographies. I love biographies.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah. Lincoln was like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I just poured through that. All of his court cases were in there. It was intriguing because he wasn't schooled in college. And so he would just...
Lincoln was amazing. Yeah. I don't read a lot of biographies, but I did read one. It's called A Woman of No Importance. And it was about this woman. Oh my gosh. She was amazing. She was an American woman and she lost her leg in a hunting accident right before World War II, like in the mid-30s. And in the late 30s, as things are ramping up over in Germany, she went to the federal government. She says, I want to be a spy. And they're like, no, A, you're a girl, and B, you only have one leg. No. And she's like, well, see ya.
What criteria? Both legs, okay.
So she went over to England and actually was a spy for the English government or the British government.
I mean, who's going to say that she's a spy? Who's going to believe that? You know
well, then she goes to work for the French Resistance.
It's perfect.
Okay. So this woman, now she's working for the French Resistance and she was a radio operator and she's running guns.
Is this based on a true story?
This is her biography. This is a true story.
This is a true story.
So she's helping them run guns and she's got the radio. Now back then the radios weighed like 40 to 45 pounds. Okay. They're heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the Nazis got onto her. They knew who she was. They couldn't find her. Well, she gets word that, hey, they know where you're at. they're coming after you. You need to leave right now. So this is the middle of winter. So she needs to cross the Swiss Alps, okay, with this radio and only one leg. And the Swiss Alps in the winter, the snow was coming up to her hips. And the guides wouldn't take anyone, even people in the best of physical condition, over these mountains in the winter. They would refuse.
So what'd she do?
She's like, you're taking me over the mountains because the Nazis are coming after me.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna die anyway.
She carried this radio
Yeah.
through hip-deep snow over the Swiss Alps and escaped the Nazis. Then she went back to Britain.
She survived.
Yeah, she survived. She went back to Britain and she said, here, I'm ready to go on another mission. So now keep in mind, the Americans didn't want her as a spy. So she gets, after the war, she's back in America. And in the 50s, Eisenhower says, hey, we want to give you a presidential medal. I can't remember what the award was. And she sent him back a letter and she's like, hey, you didn't want me. So I am not flying to Washington, D.C. to get your medal.
In your face. I crossed
This woman was amazing.
Alps. Yeah, like he could.
So it was A Woman of No Importance. I highly recommend it. It was an
A Woman of No Importance. I love that name too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is there a movie? I wonder.
I don't know. I don't watch movies very often.
I don't watch movies very often.
I like to read the books.
Is there anything else that you would like to add, especially since you are running for BOE?
What? I mean, I think we've pretty well covered everything.
I think so.
I am open. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'd come talk to your groups, your small, medium, large groups, or if you want to talk one-on-one, if you have questions, reach out because I'm more than willing to talk. I don't know everything there is to know, as it turns out, which is always a surprise to me. You know, every few months, I find out that I don't know everything, and I'm surprised all over again.
I drive to work every day and I go, I don't even know what I'm going to do next.
Well, you know, just as I start feeling all, you know, proud of myself for knowing so much, somebody will come along with something. So I've had parents reach out to me with issues and I'm like, you know, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
But that is important. And the thing is, you know, the motto of our school board, our school district is every student, every day.
Okay. So when I first heard that, the superintendent said that to me, and I'm like, impossible. You're not going to be able to do it. This is the problem I have with that statement. Although that's a nice goal, it's impossible. And then everybody's going to go, well, why didn't you, So
you told me that a few months ago, that's impossible. So I was actually thinking about you saying that, and I've been thinking about it.
That's just the first thought that came into
introverts, we tend to stew on things like this, right?
Yes. Well,
so I've been thinking about this, and you said that.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, she has a point, but I kind of took it in a different direction, and I can't represent every student every day because I have 2 students.
Right.
I have 2 children, and they have a certain set of needs and a certain set of skills. But I don't know what your kid needs. I don't know what your kid's good at. So I can't represent any students except for mine.
I just think
if people don't talk to me.
There's a better.
Well, this is what we have to work with.
Yeah.
So we're going to work with it.
Yeah.
So I need to know from other parents and teachers, because the teachers are with the kids every day. What do your students need? What do your kids need to succeed? Where are things falling through the cracks? What are we doing well? Right. There's a lot of things that our school district is doing really well. And I don't want to discount that at all.
Right.
But I don't know where the problems are if I don't hear from other parents. Because I only know my kids.
Right. You can really go deep into a lot of these discussions of, why is this? Why is that? There is no perfect institution.
No.
And I think for me, when I was raising my children in the schools, they're out now, I took on the perspective that I was in charge of their education.
Mm-hmm.
And the schools were a tool for me. They were there for me. They were there to serve my children.
Mm-hmm.
And but I never expected perfection. Right. So if there was anytime there was a problem, I would say, look, how can we either negotiate this or I could put them over here, or I can homeschool them, or what do we do? Right. Even in, I think it was fifth or sixth grade. I can't remember. Intermediate school. It was a new school at the time. And one of my sons was having a problem with one of the teachers. And we couldn't resolve it at the time. And then I went in and I said, can I homeschool these two subjects and he just go in for the rest? And she goes, sure. And we did that for the rest of the year. And then he just went in full time the next fall. And it really eased the tension. It gave us an opportunity to feel like we were actively solving the problem, right? But I think if you go to the schools as a parent and expect, okay, your child is going to be the only child. It says every child every day. That's why I said that. It's impossible, because really there's a partnership, and should be a partnership between the parents and the school for communication. And for me, I think 20 years ago, they were much better at that than they are now. And I don't know. I kind of wonder if it's digital.
Yeah, the communication is a big deal to me. I don't understand why it's so difficult to communicate things. Like when the Board of Education meetings are, they changed the meeting time a couple months ago, and even the teachers hadn't heard about it.
Yeah.
This is not a difficult thing to do. You can send out an email. We've been able to do listservs on emails for 30 years.
And I think it's solvable.
Right.
And I think it will be solved. These things will pan themselves out. When people go in there knowing, okay, communication is a problem in a lot of places, but you were successful here. What happened between where's
so I've actually done speeches at the American Concrete Institute about communication.
Really?
I have. Okay. Now it was communication between the construction field and the engineers and the owners and all of that. But it's the same concept. We have so many ways of communicating now, so many more ways than we did, like you said, 200 years ago. But our communication isn't as good. We're in a hurry, and you'll get an email that doesn't make any sense, and it'll say, "Excuse the brevity, I sent this from my iPhone." Well, why can't we take the time and write it out and say what we mean? And the simpler it is, and the more people are going to be communicated with. So yeah, we've got all these fancy apps now. I've got an app for everything, and everybody wants to communicate with me. The grocery store, the Instacart. Right. Everybody wants to communicate with me. Pleasant Hill Times. But the ones who I communicate with the most are the ones who make it the easiest for me. They come right to my email inbox, or they come to the text message. I don't have to go to the app, and I don't have to click on all the stuff. I don't have to go to a website or anything like that. So the simplest communications and clear, concise communications. I don't want to watch a video on how to read my AT&T bill. Okay? Send me the bill. If there's something new on it, write a paragraph. Here's what's new. Here's how you know.
Right.
Every month they send me a video on and I've never watched it because it's ridiculous. You've made it way too complicated.
It's a bill.
These videos are way too complicated. They don't send instructions anymore on stuff. You order something and they don't give the instructions, and they go to this website and watch a video. Yeah. I don't want to watch a video. For starters, I might need it to go slower or faster.
Right.
It's awful. It's very awful. The more we try to make it fancy and complicated, the less effective our communication is. So you simplify it, okay? We have a Board of Education meeting. We send out an email to the parents, and I know they can do that because I get emails about homecoming t-shirts. I say, hey, there's a Board of Education meeting February 24th at 7:00 if anybody wants to come.
Right.
You've got it on your phone or the text or how you sign up for your communications.
For me, I feel like text has kind of been king with me. I still, and my daughter's not even in choir. I still get the notables.
Oh.
You need to be here. You need to be here. Remember, you need to do this. And I'm just like, this is awesome. Yeah. This is awesome. I mean, I know where everybody else needs to be.
I mean, I prefer email because I still print stuff out.
Well, okay, so I can do that now, but when I was raising kids, I wasn't really working. I
Mhm.
wasn't outside the home. I was inside the home. And I did ministry things.
Mhm.
You know, I ran KCCM and did that, but that was on my own kind of
Right. That's your
time. So but I wasn't in front of my email
right
every day.
So the text works
So,
well. But again,
made
we
it
go
tough.
back to it's very simple. Text is simple. Emails are simple.
Mhm.
You're not going into an app and
Mhm.
having to click on 42 different links or whatever it is, or have to remember to
Right.
check the app.
Well, and most people that want to go to a meeting like the BOE,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost as if there should be something to sign up for. Keep me posted. You know,
I have been shocked by the number of people who don't know when it is or how to get on the agenda,
Yeah.
which are two items like I didn't know until a year ago.
okay, I don't think most people care.
Well, I didn't either, but
I know.
I've heard people asking me now.
Really, well,
People care.
now, but they didn't before.
You know, I didn't either before because my kids were coming home.
Everything
They were
was-
learning things that I thought were age appropriate. They were doing well.
Then COVID
Their teachers
happens.
were good. Then COVID happened. I mean, how many times have we said that in the last 2 years about everything?
Then COVID.
Then
happened.
COVID happened.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, I want to talk to the school board. How do I get on the agenda?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out it's not that hard, but people don't know. I didn't know.
You just email
Somebody
the
had to-
superintendent or secretary.
yeah, Kathy Job.
Mhm.
She'll get you on the agenda.
Mhm.
How do you when are the meetings? You know,
Mhm.
why should we have to dig around and find things like that? Why
Yeah.
can't we just get an email?
I
Hey,
believe it was changed this month.
it was. That's why I said February 24th at 7 p.m. But, you know, even at the beginning of the year, say, here's the dates for the Board of Education meetings. Here's the dates. We do it with curriculum night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not that hard
Yeah.
to communicate well.
Now, okay, so when I was raising kids, it was all paper.
Mm-hmm.
It was all
Mhm.
I had to it was shoved
The
down.
backpack full of paper.
But then it was email, and that made it a little bit easier.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if it was, I didn't watch it. I didn't look for it every day.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe twice a week. But so the texts were amazing when they started
Right.
texting. I'm like, I can do that.
I really like
can
the
do that.
online enrollment now. Because when my
Yeah.
youngest
I
or my
think-
oldest was
Yeah.
first starting school, I remember calling my friend Teresa. She had 4 kids. And I was like,
Makes it easy.
how many hours do you spend on this? She's like, oh, it's a full week.
A full week?
Well, she had 4 kids. She had to enroll.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, because I think she was
I
exaggerating a little.
Don't have to do that anymore.
The online enrollment is fabulous. I
All
love
my
it.
kids are
Even as old fashioned
Fine.
as I am with my books and my paper calendar and everything, I do love the online enrollment.
Yeah.
That's really great.
we only have one more thing, and that would be my daughter, if she gets engaged, will be the wedding to pay for,
Mhm.
and then we're done. We're
You're not done.
with big ticket items.
Well, you're
Big
done
ticket-
paying for stuff.
Yeah. Big ticket items. Yeah. Then we travel or do something. I don't know, but we're going to throw a party.
Go out to eat.
Go out to eat. Yeah. But oh my gosh, kids are expensive, especially when
Yeah.
they're in college. And so my youngest is going to be done
Mhm.
with that. But we'll have to pay for one wedding, and we're home free financially. Oh my goodness.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen. Mary,
Life happens
don't
sometimes.
curse it. Don't mess it up. No,
Okay.
none of that.
Okay.
None
Okay.
of that. None of that.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate
This
it.
is fun.